But how serious were you when you were saying, well, we want to play in a band, and you were listening to international other bands? How serious were you? What was your goal when you first started? You thought, well, we have to get this thing big, or?
No, we didn't really think.
We were very serious, but we never had any further plans. That then, in the beginning, it was to make our first demo tape. We never, we never saw beyond anything that wasn't realistic. All our goals were like, okay, we're gonna make a demo tape, and then we did that, and then, we were like, oh, maybe we could put out an EP.
Yeah.
And so our goals were never to maybe someday we could play abroad, in other countries.
No, you never thought about that.
That thought never, came across our minds that would be possible, because the band, the Swedish punk rock bands, that we knew, I mean, the biggest bands in punk rock, they had sold maybe 3,000 albums.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, maybe one day we could be like that. Like,
yeah.
But they only toured around Sweden.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there were.
Just because they sang in Swedish,
Yeah.
Okay.
So there weren't any other Swedish band before us that had been, around the world. I mean.
Okay.
Like we.
Not alternative,
Yeah, there was a metal scene maybe in Sweden.
Yeah.
But we weren't really,
We're local activity more.
Yeah, I mean the metal scene was
we were.
It was kind of segregated too,
Yeah.
in that sense, because the metal dudes did their thing, I guess.
And can you still recall when was the first experience with the band that you thought, well, maybe this can get big, when you were, for example, on tour abroad for the first time?
It was probably when we released our first album, Tiny Tunes. That we sold. I mean, we did a lot of shows in Sweden that time. That there was a lot of people at the shows.
Yeah. Even the first EP.
Yeah. So something was happening, and we sold quite a lot of that album, and then we did even more shows in Sweden. And then when we released the second album, we started to go outside of Sweden, but you never really thought about it. We just had a good time.
Because I heard that you had to change the name of your first album. Was that already in that period also? Or?
It was later. It was after it was during our second album, when Warner Brothers came across that thing. I think Burning Heart even had to pay a fine.
Okay.
It was money. They had to pay like $10,000 or something like that.
Okay, but did that bring some extra attention to the band, or did you manage to bend it?
A little, but it was not really.
An extra question in interviews.
Yeah, maybe. But we had some. Maybe it was in some Swedish newspapers, But it was. Okay. I remember a picture actually, but it was no big deal. It was just stupid, the whole thing.
Okay, because I heard then when you released the second album, then you did a big tour, about 150 shows across Europe, or?
Yeah.
I mean, back then we were playing all the time. It wasn't like, okay, let's go out on let's do 150 shows here on this album. It was more like,
it happens.
Okay,
let's tour.
Let's play. Where can we play? Okay, let's go to the States, and okay, we can do 25 shows there, and then after that we it wasn't really that organized. We just said yes to all the offers we could. If someone wanted us to play a tour in the States or Japan or Sweden or around Europe, anywhere, we would say yes, of course.
But you were always in the same direction on that point, because I think touring is very intense, and all members in the band were always like, we go for it, or did you have tensions?
At the beginning, we didn't really think. It was just we just thought that, okay, this is the way it's supposed to be, so we just toured. Okay. And I mean, at that time it was kind of easy too, because we just toured. We never reflected.
I actually did. I mean,
But yeah.
I mean, I often thought that I was, maybe I didn't know it at the time, but I was kind of stressed that there was never an end.
No.
It wasn't like, okay, let's tour for 1 year and then take a rest. And it was just tours and shows, you know.
A new album tour,
yeah. So there was no end to it. There was no pause and that I didn't like that. It made me like not freak out, but and that's why we took a break, you know. And but that was in '98.